Arizona football signing day came and went. There weren't a ton of surprises, but we are going to break down the class. Who are the diamonds in the rough? Who are the stars? Who are all these players? And what do you need to know? All that and more. And let's get started on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, check it out. Again, we will be getting back to FanDuel. But, all right, now, Arizona football came and went. Now, there's a lot of people that are upset. They're saying, oh, well, you know, we thought the class would be rated higher, et cetera, et cetera. That's been a common refrain from some folks. I'm here to say that, listen, obviously, you want to bring in the 5 stars. You want to bring in all of those players. But I also don't worry nearly as much about that with this coaching staff. Again, this coaching staff has shown that they know what they're doing. Now, in the past, it was always something that we kind of joked about with the Kevin Sumlins of the world, where they would talk about, or not Kevin Sumlin, excuse me, Rich Rodriguez, talk about, well, don't worry about these kids have no offers, but it doesn't matter because they are OKGs. They are our kind of guys. All right. Listen, it's okay to have a couple of those, but again, the 2-star Scooby, if you're banking on those being 2-star Scoobies, you're probably going to be left out in the wind. And that certainly showed with Rich Rod. Rich Rod was a great tactician. Rich Rod was a great X's and O's coach, but he wasn't able to out-scheme basically a poor product that he put out on the field. And the reason it was a poor product towards the end was because he didn't have talent. That's essentially what this came down to. He didn't have a lot of talent. That's something that obviously is not that is not ideal in this world of in college football, and you got to have talent. Jedd Fisch has come in here, and one thing that we can definitely say about Jedd Fisch is that he has an idea. He has an idea about talent. He has an ability to be able to develop talent, and he has shown that time and time again. Now, listen, there are some very highly rated players on this team. We all know that. Your Teteroa McMillan, obviously a 5-star kid. You generally don't get 5-star kids to come to the University of Arizona to back the A. That's just kind of the way it is. Again, I'm not really breaking any news there. But look up and down this roster, though. How many of these kids were under-recruited, weren't that good, whatever the case may be? You could start with Noah Fafita, who, I had an offer from Cal, but was kind of a low-end 3-star. A lot of people wondering, well, he's really small. How good can he be? Well, Noah Fafita has certainly shown people that it's not the size of the dog, it's the bite of the dog. Is that it? But he's been obviously, he's going to be one of the cornerstones of this team for the foreseeable future. Then you can just stay on the offensive line. Jonah Savanea. Big Jonah is going to be a first-round pick, and I'm not sure that there is a better prospect on the team than Big Jonah. Honestly, Jonah is that dude. He can play tackle, he can play guard. He's going to be a top 15 to 20 pick. Whenever scouts come into town, and Jedd Fisch has mentioned this many, many times, they almost immediately ask and say, who's that dude right there? And they're always pointing to Big Jonah. He just looks different than everybody else out there. Good player, obviously. Wendell Moy, 2-star kid, was committed to Morgan State, I believe, Arizona. And again, he came from Long Beach Poly, so it's not like he was this under the radar, kid that you're not sure about. He came in, and he has been he is going to be a 4-year starter at the U of A, and he's probably going to play in the NFL. They developed him well. They scouted him well. Then you look on the defensive side. Same thing. And we can go back to offense for a second. Tanner McLaughlin, obviously underrated guy, going to be in the NFL. Then on the defensive side of the ball, Jacob Kongaika was walk-on initially. Tai Uiagalelei, low 3-star. Isaiah Ward, 3-star, Deuce Davis, 3-star. Then look at the absolute, probably the most talented players on the defensive side of the football. Jacob Manu, not a dude that had any offers. Again, a lot of people thought that was just kind of a charity offer by Jedd Fisch and staff bringing him in. Come to find out, this dude's an All-American type player, and he was a first-team All-Conference. Jacob Manu is a stud. Then Tacario Davis. Tacario Davis is going to be an NFL player, and he's going to be an NFL player for a long time. And if he learns how to catch the ball, he is really going to be a long-term NFL player because he's got everything else, and he's got everything else in spades. But again, you get the gist. This coaching staff knows what they're looking for. Those were all 3-star kids, and and so many of them have panned out. That's kind of the backbone of this team. So when they talk about how they don't, I trust the scouting of this department. So when people talk about, there's a lot of 3-stars in here, I don't worry nearly as much about it. But let's kind of go through here. Let's talk about some of the players, some of the bigger names, and break it all down. Now, the first one, obviously at the quarterback position, Damon Williams out of Basha. I never worry about the quarterback position with Jedd Fisch here at the U of A because he's always going to be able to get a 4-star. That's his baby. Again, not really breaking any news. Jedd Fisch is going to be able to recruit 4-star kids, and they're going to be up and down the roster. Look at it. You got Noah Fafita right now, but you also have Braden Dorman, 4-star kid. You got Damon Williams coming in, 4-star kid. You got Dash Brierly, another kid coming in, also very, very good. He's going to be the year after that, but these dudes are good. I mean, that's just the way it is. These guys, he knows what he's doing. So again, Damon Williams is an interesting guy. He's got a big arm. I remember his father actually at Pima. I believe he went off to play at Michigan State. This was when Pima was really good at football under Jeff Skurin, and Damon Williams was one of those players. His son is a really, really good football player. Can run around, can move, can do a lot of different things. He's going to be an early enrollee. I'd like to see him redshirt because, again, he's slight. I think it's going to take him a little bit of time to develop, but he's going to be right in that competition when Noah Fafita leaves. And not only is he going to be in that competition, he's probably going to be at the forefront of it because, again, he's just got a lot of talent. He's got a lot of innate ability that you can't really coach, that you either have or you don't. Now, again, a little undersized, not a big dude by any means, but also somebody that is going to be able to, I think, play at a very high level when he is called upon. And that could be sooner than later because, again, in this day and age, players get injured. I would expect, and again, I don't have any inside information on this, I would expect Jayden de Laura to probably move on after spring football, but I don't know that for a fact. Either way, it's a good thing to have a 4-star quarterback along with Braden Dorman coming in because, again, that obviously works out well. Now, now we're going to get to some skill guys that I think are going to be real difference makers and a big part of, but first, LinkedIn. All right, now LinkedIn, ladies and gentlemen, check it out, LinkedIn. This is where you want to go to get all of your stuff. LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Again, like we always talk about, a lot of people get jobs through LinkedIn. And the reason it's been around, the reason so many people use it, it's very simple. It's because it works. Check it out. LinkedIn, my friends, LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. Again, you will thank me later on this one. But again, you probably got a job. You probably know somebody that got a job. A lot of different avenues to take. But again, check it out. LinkedIn.com/lockedoncollege. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's move on here a little bit. Jordan Washington, 4-star running back out of Los Angeles. He's got a little bit of that Speedy Luke type build to him in that he's a little bit undersized, but he is fast. He is fast. Like I said, there's a lot of that to him. I'm curious to see. I don't know how much he's going to really play because you got to remember, Speedy Luke, Fam, as we affectionately call him on this show, is coming back next year. That is a good thing. I am very happy that Arizona was able to make that one occur because Speedy Luke can play. And not only can Speedy Luke play, I think he's going to be a breakout performer for Arizona. But Jordan Washington, again, can never have too many dudes that can break tackles, that can run, and that are game breakers. Jordan Washington's one of those guys. Again, not the biggest dude in the world, might need a year to redshirt. As a matter of fact, like I said, I think he probably will redshirt, but another player that probably could have gone to about any school that he wanted. He's that guy. Again, he is a really, really good football player. And I think that, I think it's fair to say that you will continue to see him probably climb up the charts a little bit more. I think he's probably a little bit underrated. I think he's a mid to high 4-star player. I think you're going to see that reflected in him. But again, he is a really, really good football player. And again, that was an awesome get by Jedd Fisch and staff. Again, we talked about it before. I don't worry about quarterbacks under Jedd Fisch. I also don't worry about skill position players because, again, that's his baby. He knows that he needs those game breakers. He's always going to have those players. I don't worry about that one at all. Now, another 4-star kid that, talking with some people, I think might be the best prospect in the class, and that is Rashawn Clark out of Seattle. He's going to come and he's going to play DB at Arizona. And you got to remember, with the Arizona defensive backs, there's a lot of speculation that Ephesians PrizePicks and Tacario Davis could leave for the NFL after the year, and it's not unfounded speculation because honestly, both those dudes are good. Both those guys are players that look like Sunday players. Again, when you're 6'2", 6'3", you can move. And not only can you move, you got pretty good ball skills as well. There's going to be a market for you. And again, you got to give Jedd Fisch a ton of credit because not only do you have to give Jedd Fisch a ton of credit, you also have to say that he's the dude who is he's the guy who just kind of knows what he's doing. So again, but he's always going to have a backup plan. He's never been left empty-handed. And again, I think that's what the case is going to be with Tacario Davis and Ephesians PrizePicks, assuming they move on. Both these guys obviously NFL players. Rashawn Clark is going to be the dude who I think, along with Jordan Shaw, is going to be Jordan Shaw, I think, is going to be probably those two starting cornerbacks. Again, he's a little bit bigger, not only a little bit bigger, but I think probably pretty good ball skills as well. Again, you've got to be able to have somebody that's their weight in the ring on the wing, and both of these guys are that. And not only that, I think that they're going to be ready to start. They're going to have some experience by them. Either way, Rashawn Clark, I believe, probably going to be the best player in this class. They needed to get defensive backs. And not only did they need to get defensive backs, they needed to be able to get guys who are going to be able to play because these guys can both be moving on. Now, let's talk about some of the other players in this class because it's interesting. Now, Audric Harris out of Bishop Gorman. This is a player that Matt Doherty spoke very highly of, knows all the receiver positions. Again, when you get players out of Bishop Gorman, they generally know how to play football. And not only do they know how to play football, they know how to they played against really good competition and in practice. And not only that, when Jedd Fisch speaks highly of a wide receiver, when Matt Doherty speaks highly of a wide receiver, they kind of know what they're doing. Audric Harris, I'm curious to see where he plays because you got to remember, you got Kevin Green, you got Malachi Riley, you got Teteroa McMillan, you got a lot of dudes. And you got players that are waiting in the wing like a Carlos Wilson. Again, you're bringing in other guys, a lot of dudes. But either way, Arizona's in a good spot, and if he's good enough for Jedd Fisch in society, I am more than okay with it. Now, Raheem Wright, another kid. This one out of Rancho Cucamonga. Him and Stacey Bay, both fascinating players. Again, when we talk about it, you have to look not necessarily at what their stars are, but where they are rated or where they what are their other offers. And again, that is that's something that you got to keep an eye on with Raheem Wright and Stacey Bay. If you got a Florida State offer, you got a Colorado offer, I'm more than okay with you wherever you are. And again, not undersized Smurfs. When you're dealing with Raheem Clark, another dude, a cornerback that about 6 foot, 6'1", 180. He's not going to be pushed around. And he's going to be able to compete for jump balls. A player that I think is Arizona fans should be very, very happy about. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he kind of forces his way onto the field. He was absolutely spoken very highly of. And then Stacey Bay. I love Stacey Bay. He's been committed to the U of A for quite a while. And another kid out of Rancho Cucamonga, 6'1", 200 pounds. By the time T.O.'s done with him, he'll be 230 pounds. He's got a build that can obviously put on some weight. And again, he's also played in a really, really good football conference. Not only has he played in a really good football conference, he's also shown that he can be a tackle machine. He as another player, I could see him forcing his way onto the field sooner than later. Obviously excited about him because, again, he just kind of has a knack for the football. That's another thing, too, that when we're talking about these players, they have knacks for the football. He's another one of those dudes. Stacey Bay, very big fan of what he can do. Then Teron Williams out of Mirror in Pasadena, Jacques Vaughn's high school. Obviously, good 6'3" wide receiver. Again, I don't know where he's going to play necessarily early on, but another guy that had some decent offers. Again, look at the offer sheet. That's what a big part of this is. And I think he could play. Dylan Tapley, probably going to play tight end at the U of A, 6'4", 205 pounds. A kid out of Scottsdale, was committed to ASU. He made the right decision. What could he be doing going forward? But first, FanDuel. All right. Now, FanDuel.com/locked-on. Check it out. Listen. Basketball and football are both here right now, and that is the best time of the sports year. You know what also makes it more enjoyable is being able to bet on it. Get a little bit of skin in the game. FanDuel.com/locked-on. Again, all kinds of good stuff there. Check it out. You know your money's good. Not only do you know your money's good, you also know that you are in the you're going to be more than okay with whatever you bet, live betting, in-game betting, or before bets, you name it, they got it. Check it out, FanDuel.com/locked-on. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats, making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, Dylan Tapley. Like Dylan Tapley a lot. I think he was a little bit underrated in the state of Arizona. This was a pretty loaded class. Tapley, they have him as the 14th best player in the state. I bet he's going to play a little bit better than that and comes from the same high school that Mark Andrews did. Now, speaking of which, Brandon Phelps, interesting player, put up amazing numbers at American Leadership Academy in Gilbert. Obviously, before this, I'd never even heard of that. Put up awesome numbers, good athlete. And not only is he a good athlete, he can also play. He might just be one of those players that can just get open. Sometimes you find players that can just get open. He might be one of those players. I'm interested by him for sure. Bryce Butler, massive dude, JUCO kid. It's hard to really tell with JUCO players because, again, it's kind of hit or miss. 6'5", 300 pounds in this day and age. And Johnny Nansen talked about this in this day and age. You don't really know where, you got to basically trust your evaluation. And I trust this staff's evaluation. Obviously, Bryce Butler, very, very interesting guy. Again, at 6'5", 300 pounds. Sign me up. All right, you got the Apollo kids, all interesting. The Apollo 3 is what we're calling them. Adam Mohammed, big running back out of Apollo. Matthew Latto also from Apollo, 6'6", 260, defensive tackle. And then Michael Watkins, also from Apollo, Interior offensive line, 6'3", 285. Not highly rated players, but again, big. We've seen with this coaching staff that they know how to develop players. I'm interested in all of them. There's not a player here I'm not interested in. And then obviously, Michael Salgado Medina. I am a big proponent of offering kickers. I have no problem having 2 kickers on the roster. To me, that's way more important than having a third string safety. I don't care what anybody says. I am more than okay with that. And I think with Michael Salgado Medina, he's 5th best kicker in the country. Take him. Sign him up. Arizona fans have been killed way too many times with bad kickers. Now, transfers. Chubba May. 6'5", 300 pounds, totally cool. Or 6'5", 6'3", 350. Huge kid out of UC Davis. Again, line him up next to Big Bill Norton, and I think you're maybe you can go with a 2 lineman look. Huge kid, already here. Excited to see what he can do. Jordan Shaw, also defensive back out of California originally, went to Indiana for a year, started a couple games. I think he's going to be in line to start after Takario Davis and Ephesians Price-Hawk move on. So keep it in mind. Then Jack Luttrell, let's see, safety out of Tennessee. This is somebody that Dwayne Aquina recruited at Stanford. Dwayne Aquina obviously is about as good a defensive backs coach as there's been in college football. If Dwayne Aquina wants a player, I am more than okay with going ahead with that. And that was kind of the way that it was. Again, didn't get to quite everybody here, but again, I'm fine with this class because again, all these kids had offers, and this staff again has shown that they have the ability to be able to develop talent. So I'm cool with it. I am more than all right with it. But on that note, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Going to start getting ready for the Alamo Bowl, talk a little bit of Arizona, Alabama as well. But wanted to really kind of touch on this recruiting class because there's a lot to break down. But as always, thanks for making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke, and bear down, back the A. We will be back with you tomorrow.